one, being a woman, two, being a Black woman in real estate. You don't see that every day. And
what is one of the first things that a person needs to essentially look at before even buying the property?
Be in the rooms with people that you aspire to be around and be with. Most people that are in those places and in those seats, they would love to help somebody because they see themselves in you.
How important is it to niche down what you're buying? How important is that?
That is probably the most important thing to do. One thing I will say about business that I've had to learn the hard way is when...
Welcome to the conversation, y'all. Today's conversation is actually going to be a sales/flipping conversation. If you are somebody who has ever thought of buying a property, fixing and flipping, and maybe you don't know what that looks like, or you just wanted to know the real behind it, here today, I am actually interviewing a veteran in the real estate industry. And one of the things that we're going to do is teach you how to actually make sure that you're efficient with flipping. Okay. So we have Deba Douglas here today. I just want to say thank you for showing up on the pod here today. This is going to be an amazing time. We're going to have a great conversation. How you feeling?
I feel great. Thank you so much for having me. Such an honor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things that I always like to start off with is like, it's not the business, but the person itself. Would you say that you're devoted to real estate? Like your life is just devoted to real estate right now?
It is.
Okay. Let's start here. What made you get into real estate and like decide that that was going to be the path that you absolutely take from here? What made you do that?
You know what? I was tired of being broke.
Okay.
I was really tired of being broke. I had a 9-to-5. I was an assistant principal in the Texas area. And I was tired of someone telling me when I could go on vacation. I was tired of someone telling me when I could take my kids, wherever I want to take my kids, where I could go to lunch, if I could go to lunch. I was tired of scarfing down my lunch in 10 minutes because I had to suspend a kid or I had to go deal with a teacher. And I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. So as I'm going through that and being sick and tired of being sick and tired, I realized like there are people that are making real money out here. And it always brought me back to real estate. So during that time, I started learning about real estate by being a part of different Facebook groups that had real estate investing. Listening to podcasts, reading books, literally investing in myself because I wanted to become a different person.
Would you say that real estate is the fastest path to wealth, or would you say that real estate is one of the things where it's a long-term kind of play and you have to stick with it? Because in today's session with like a lot of people and their mindsets behind real estate, they think it's a get rich quick scheme. They think that it's one of those things where, hey, I want to make $30,000, $100,000 in a month, but like, what would you say that it is? Is it one of those things where you can make money quickly, or would you say that it's like more so like a long-term path where you want to build this long-term?
You know, it's a little bit of both, but I would really say for you to get the money and acquire it and really know what to do with it, it's a long-term play, right? You really have to transform the way you see money, how you make money, how you invest in money. Because real estate investing is long-term. You're investing, you're putting money in for a little bit, and then you're going to sit back and watch it grow. Just like a tree you plant. It's not going to become this great oversized tree overnight. You definitely have to take time. And what changes is your mindset. Because when I remember being a homeowner and buying my first house that we live in, to the first time I bought an investment property, I was a totally different person. And then when I bought that investment property, I started looking at myself and looking at my life differently. And I started looking at money differently. And so it wasn't until like I started buying multiple properties where I'm like, now I'm an owner, I'm the boss. I'm not waiting for someone to say, yes, you need to buy the property. No, you don't need to buy it. It became within me. So you personally go through your own personal development to realize, oh, I do deserve this. And you start having the audacity to say, I'm gonna go after everything that God told me to go get.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that's good. So when you think about that, right? And you talk about developing the mindset of being the person. One of the things that I like to go by is be, do, have, right? Be is literally becoming the person.
Yeah.
And when we think about becoming the person, that looks like not what you do in front of people, but behind the scenes. What are you doing behind the scenes? How are you building yourself and all of that? So that's good. And then do, once you become the person, like you're automatically going to have what you want if you become the person. You first work on yourself. But doing the work looks like just doing the work. Like if you become the work, I mean, you become the person, you do the work, and you have what you want to have. But like it first starts with becoming. So that's very important.
Yeah.
So what would you say has been the thing that's tested you the most as far like what has real estate worked on for you the most? Because they say that like things work on you or they work for you.
Yeah.
So like, what do you feel like that it's worked on in you to make you just become a better individual?
Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. Oh my gosh. It's like, it's the definition of entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Like you don't realize all those triggers, all the things that you kind of swept under the rug when you had a corporate job because you really don't need to deal with it.
Yeah.
They all show up in the entrepreneur because you got to come face to face with who you really see yourself as. So I would say the biggest thing for me was my own value.
Yeah.
Like really paying my costs to have access to me. And I think that was the hardest thing for me because I'm like, who gonna pay that?
That's true.
I'm worried and projecting what I see instead of projecting like the value that I bring to someone. And I would shortchange myself. One, being a woman. Two, being a Black woman in real estate. You don't see that every day. And she's building houses, she's flipping houses, she's wholesaling, she's doing all these things. You don't see that every day. So a part of me was like, I didn't even have anyone that I could say, oh, look at them, they're doing that. Like there's a bunch of great top realtors that are African-American, but there's not many that are like, oh, they really invest and build houses and do all these things. So I had to really come to a realization that I'm going to be what I want. And I got to go after it and I got to change my own value. So there were triggers of like, I don't feel like I'm good enough or the imposter syndrome. Like, oh my God, somebody just paid me to do this. Or I just did a wholesale deal and made $35,000. Something bad is about to happen. But then I had to stay strong in my faith. And one of the biggest scriptures that I literally have posted up on my wall is that when God brings you wealth, he don't bring it with any pain. And so that's something I have to stay focused on as I go into different levels, go into different rooms. I'm like, God brought this to me. So you should be able to walk in it and don't think something bad is about to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense. So what would you say, like is the first, when somebody looks at a property and they say, hey, look, I'm making the decision and I'm deciding that I want to invest into real estate, right? What is one of the first things that a person needs to essentially look at before even buying the property?
How are you gonna pay for it?
Okay.
Don't go walk houses. You have no idea how you're gonna pay, where you're gonna get the money from, because now you're wasting everybody's time. And you're wasting your time and you're getting yourself all hyped up and you don't even know the first step.
That makes sense.
So figure out how you're gonna pay. You're gonna use cash, you're gonna use private money, you're gonna use hard money.
Okay.
You're gonna take out a HELOC on your personal home so you can tap into some liquidity. How are you going to pay for it?
Okay.
And then once you know how to pay for it, everything else falls into suit.
That makes sense.
Then you can say, now let me go analyze a deal. What are my numbers in that particular area, that subdivision, wherever I'm buying? What is the ARV after the repair value? What is the highest market rate for this house? Then you just work backwards, make sure you get a good contractor, make sure that you can get your hard money lender, whoever you're buying it from, can give you the money that makes sense with that.
That makes sense. And when you say hard money in private money, we know cash. You explain HELOC. For the person that does not know what a private money loan is or a hard money loan is, could you explain the difference between the two?
Yeah, so a private money is what I love because that's literally you talking to your uncle, talking to your dad. Hey, you have some money sitting on the side that you're not using. Let's come up with a compromise. Maybe that's 10% annualized interest. They give you $100,000, you give them back $100,000 plus $10,000 for over a year. That's easy. Everybody's the bank, so you kind of work it out together. Hard money is more institutional wise, where you're going to a lender. They already have their terms. They already have what they're looking for. Most times they're going to give you 75% of the ARV. Sometimes it's 70% of the ARV. You just have to work with their terms and see if it works and their parameters.
That makes sense. So when you look at a deal, right, and you're analyzing this deal. What would you say is like once you got the money, what is the most important thing after that? Like you're looking at this home and you haven't invested into it yet, but you're making the decision and deciding that you want to do that. What are some prelim things that you do before purchasing this home so you know that it's a good investment for you?
Yes, due diligence, do your due diligence.
Okay.
So what does that look like? First, I'm gonna make sure I'm familiar with this area and I know what my ARV, what is the highest price point of me selling this house could be. Then I'm gonna go backtrack and understand what will my contractors charge me to do this full rehab. That way I know what I'm getting myself into, because you don't wanna walk into a house and say, oh, it's only gonna cost me 50. And then when you get in there, it's cost you 80. Wow. Now you working for free and no one's trying to work for free.
Yeah.
Then once you figure that out, you make sure that your numbers line up with your hard money lender or however you're gonna buy it. And then you go and try to present and you get that deal.
That makes sense.
But you got to know your numbers. It's not emotional. You don't buy it because, oh my gosh, I grew up on the street, or oh my gosh, it's down the street from my grandma's house. We don't care.
Yeah.
We looking at numbers. Okay. Am I going to make money? We don't do nothing for free. So if I'm not making any money, then I need to go do something else.
That's true.
Because it turns to a hobby if you're not making no money.
Exactly. And I like what you said about that. Like people emotionalize buying a property. So I actually helped one of my students make $24,000 with a property that they made a mistake on. This is what they did. They bought a property that was in their old neighborhood when they were a kid. They did not look at the numbers, see what it was worth. It was, a $20,000 property. You're like, oh man, well, I can probably go fix it up and rent it out or fix it up and flip it. And there were no comps. So this, before they actually entered my mentorship and stuff, they ended up getting on a meeting with me and was like, hey, we bought this property for like 20,000, et cetera, et cetera. Can you pull it up? And I'm like, okay, I pulled it up. There was nothing sold in the last 3 years. I'm like, okay. What are the rents going for? Oh, well, the rents are like $500 something. And they're like, oh yeah, we're paying like $800 a month for this. So they're technically losing money. So I was like, hey y'all, here's what you want to do. Sell the property. I said, here are a couple of ways to find buyers, sell the property. And they end up coming back to me like last week and they're like, hey, I sold the property, made a couple grand on it. It was like 24,000. We sold it full. So I'm like, one of the things that most people do is they make a mistake when buying property. The mistake is emotionalizing it and thinking it about yourself. Because like numbers, what did they say? The numbers don't lie.
They don't lie.
Don't lie at all.
Yeah.
So if somebody is looking, like I understand that you're a realtor, you're a developer, you fix and flip, you do it all, right? If somebody was not like in real estate, say they want to purchase a property and they're getting into real estate, but they don't have like the knowledge of running comps,
right?
Running the numbers, all of this. What is a easy and fast way to do that? Does that look like calling up a realtor and having them giving you a CMA? Or what would you say that looks like?
I would not call a realtor because not all realtors are the same.
That makes sense.
My first house that I bought before I became a realtor, I found this realtor on Zillow because in my brain, I'm thinking they're all the same and they can all do the same. Well, this realtor I found on Zillow, we bought a house, we rehabbed it. She told me that it was going to appraise after the rehab based on the comps, 130. That house appraised for 100,000. I still own that house to this day.
Really?
And I'm still red because of that.
Yeah.
That was the day that I was like, I will become a realtor and I have no problem losing money because I'm going to tell people do not buy that house based on my own personal experience because that hurts. I still feel that. And that was like over 8-9 years ago. And I still feel like it was yesterday.
Crazy.
So the first thing I would do, get you a mentor.
Okay.
And you don't got to pay for it. Bring somebody some type of value that are doing what you want to do. Buy lists for them. Do something like, hey, do you want me to go walk this property for you on your behalf?
Yeah.
Do something if you don't have the money.
That's
but
true.
Be in the rooms with people that you aspire to be around and be with. And most people that are in those places and in those seats, they would love to help somebody because they see themselves in you. Now, don't be lazy with it. Like, don't come and be like, you want everything given to you, but you haven't put in any of the time to make that person be where they're at. You need to make sure you bring some value or pay for mentorship. Like, pay for it because at least you know, hey, you put some skin in the game. You put a lot of money up and you're not going to let yourself down because you now have put it yourself accountable because you put some money in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hiring a mentor is so like, it's like, one of the things where you know how you have people and they shame people for like charging for this stuff, but it's like,
Yes.
look at what I had to go through, and it's really worth way more than this.
Way more.
But like people try to shame somebody for getting a mentor, like, hey, you can do it yourself. But if you could do it yourself, you would have already done it.
Yes.
Right.
And I was that person. I tried to do it by myself.
Yeah.
And look, I got a house still because I was like, I'm just going to figure this out on my own because I don't want to pay. So you know what? Because I did not pay a mentor, I'm losing over $20,000, $40,000. I would have very much rather pay somebody $10,000 so they could show me the game, and they would have made sure I did not buy that property.
Absolutely. So that property, like from almost 10 years ago, you're still losing on it because you did not get a mentor.
Because I did not get a mentor. So literally, the blessing on that house is it's in a great area. The tenant that I put in the house 8 years ago, they still live there. So I'm not dealing with a lot of maintenance issues. They're also a contractor. So we just work it out every month. If they got to fix something, and say, hey, deduct $20, $30 from the rent. So that way that I don't lose so much because I've already lost so much in it that I'm like, I just need them to just sit on this house until they die or something. Like, I don't want nobody to leave. Like, do not leave, please.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was, but you don't know that until you get to the other side.
That's true.
So I do believe in mentorship. And I mean, I've done a lot in my little stint of being in real estate, and I have mentors. I got like 3 mentors that are teaching me different things of how I can continue to scale.
Exactly. The mentor has mentors.
Mentor has mentors.
I always, it's my firm belief that if you have somebody that says, hey, I am self-made, you probably should run. Because I like seeing my mentors. The same thing with my mentees. They love to see me with my mentors. Like, bro, this is awesome. Like, to know that he's still a student, because one of the things that most people underrate the most is like staying a student, right?
Yes.
I say disciple, disciplined student, right?
Yes.
We study, we stay a student no matter what.
Right.
So when we talk about this due diligence, right, and we're talking about due diligence on a property, what are the top 3 things that you're doing? Does that look like an inspection? What does that look like?
So we don't do an inspection. We, because we're literally locking these properties up after a 5-minute walkthrough.
That makes sense.
So I'm looking at my top 5. I'm looking at my roof. I'm looking at my plumbing. I'm looking at electrical. I'm looking at foundation. I'm looking at all these things, trying to figure out, okay, what's going on with the house? Because I know those big 5s are going to really kill me on my rehab budget. After I do that, I'm going to pull up the city CAD or the county CAD, and I'm going to see, okay, what is this area zoned for? Am I going to run into any issues with the city? Because unfortunately, you don't have time to go backtrack and say, oh, I want you to get the house back. I want to give it back to you because I didn't look at something.
That's true.
So that's one thing I'm looking at. And then the other thing is title is going to do their title work. So they're going to make sure that there's a clean title by the time I close it. So that's really it. Just making sure that I know exactly what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so just making sure that this rehab budget is going to be. And then in this meantime, you say you lock these deals up. I'm sure you put down earnest money deposit to secure the deal. Do you even have time to get your contractors in there, or do you?
Most times I don't.
Yeah, and then you just eyeing it like that.
Yeah, well, we try to buy the same exact type of properties.
Okay.
So if I buy the same exact properties, I'm buying a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's about 1,100 square feet with a 1-car garage. I already know I'm going to convert the garage, make another bathroom, make another master or primary suite in the house. We do that all the time.
Okay.
So we already know my plumber's going to charge me this amount. I know my roof is going to be this. I'm going to try not to do the roof unless I have to.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to have to do electrical because the panel was in the garage. Now I got to flip it and make it into the backyard. I know I'm going to have to do some type of demo work. I know there's going to be framing. I know I'm going to have to do landscaping. We do the same thing.
Yeah,
to the point
same
that
thing each time.
my project manager at this time now, she knows the colors, she knows everything we do, and we just rinse and repeat.
Exactly. That makes sense. So a lot of people, when they get into like real estate, they're like, man, I want to buy any and everything. I don't care if it's brick. I don't care if it's siding, whatever the case may be. How important is it to niche down what you're buying? So like people just won't send you anything, and then you're not making the mistakes that you made before. Like, how important is that?
That is probably the most important thing to do, because if you don't have a set niche or area, everything a wholesaler sends you or everything you see, you're going to waste time doing the due diligence, trying to analyze a deal. But if you really get super focused on this is my area, so all you have to do is skim and you know, okay, that's not even my area. I don't have any houses to analyze today.
Absolutely.
It makes it easier and it makes it faster for you to grow and be successful.
Okay. there's somebody that's watching this right now that may be a wholesaler, that may be somebody who wants to sell a property. Could you tell the people where you're buying properties and what areas you would like? And then for an example, y'all, on how to niche down like what you're buying, I want you to listen to her criteria, because this is going to tell you everything you need to know with how you niche down. So what does that look like for you? Like, what areas are you looking for? And then what is like your buy box that can send you deals?
So the areas I'm looking for are going to be Dallas, Fort Worth, and all surrounding areas. Houston and all surrounding areas. I'm looking for an ARV of 400,000 or less. I'm looking for brick home with at least one car garage. Square feet anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 square feet. So I could take a 2-car garage. I'm looking for a area that has been developed. It's kind of well established, older neighborhood that I can bring in that is selling, at least houses selling on the market for at least 90 days on the market.
Awesome. Now you understand how to niche yourself down when it comes down to buying properties. Okay, perfect. So when you get into this property, right, how would someone go about, like, let's say they purchase a property, they know it's a good investment. How do you typically go about looking for contractors and making sure that you actually get good ones who basically won't pitch you over the head?
You know, I've been doing this for so long, and I still beat myself up when I get scammed. I still get scammed. I still get scammed. Now, I've done better at it with my discernment, but I still get scammed. I will only interview and take on another contractor if they came from another referral. I will not just find somebody on Joe Blow off Home Depot or off the street, or you passing around. I can't do it no more. So it has to come from another investor that I know well. That's not just somebody that's like, oh, throw this out. No, I need to know you well enough that you know what I'm looking for, and you and I kind of are the same alignment with our work.
Absolutely.
So that's the main way I find a contractor. Now, I don't pay contractors up front anything, because to me, that tells me that you don't do well with your finances, and you trying to get me to pay for the last job that you haven't finished. So you need something in advance to cover that job before you can start my job. So I don't pay anything up front. The other thing, I pay per project. So you may be the GC for the entire thing, but I'm only going to pay you this amount because this is the line item for foundation. I'm only going to pay you this amount for sheetrock because that's what we're doing right now. And you don't get that full amount until that I actually came and inspected, or someone on my team come to inspect, and then we can release the funds.
So essentially what that looks like is just having a conversation with your expectations. Like, hey,
clear expectations.
Here's what I don't do, here's what I pay, et cetera, et cetera. And having that conversation.
Because you're the boss. Don't let the GCs or the contractors think they're the boss. They work for you. Now, it's a partnership because you need them, and they need you, and you need them. But you are ultimately the boss because you're the one that makes the payments.
That makes sense.
And you pay everybody.
So when it comes down to a contractor essentially fixing up a property, I know we said GC, and then, we got subs, right? Would you mind explaining the difference between a GC and then a sub contractor so the people will know? So your general contractor, he's going to be the main person of contact. So that person will hire all the subs, and you are only talking to the general contractor. Now, when you get really great at doing what you're doing in the flipping world, you cut out the GC, because the GC's fee is usually 20 to 30% on top of what the subs are charging. So when you get really good at it, you now go directly to the subs, and the subs are the skilled workers. They're the ones doing the tile work. They're the ones doing the sheetrock and repair. They're the ones framing. The GC is kind of the overseer. He's just like your overly zealous, I would say, project manager. Gotcha. So they're not doing team leader that's above over. Okay. So if we think about all right, the team leader and then everybody under that. And then they report to you, so you don't got to touch base with 10, 15 different people.
You just have one point of contact.
Exactly.
And it's more expensive to get a GC. But if you are brand new and you don't know anything, hire a GC. Don't worry about, oh my gosh, I'm losing money because I had to hire a GC. You're going to lose more money trying to do it by yourself.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that's that step. Now, what would you say is the next step after that? It's like making sure the timelines and deadlines are, because I definitely like to talk about that, because I did a flip in Mesquite, Texas. It was back in 2024. It was my first flip. I did it with one of my buyers, and I negotiated myself to get paid up front for my wholesale fee, and then 50% on the back end.
Nice.
Most of my buyers say I've never heard nobody do that.
No one.
So I must be a really good negotiator. So I got paid 15 grand on the upfront side toward my wholesale fee. And then they use their private money lender. I think it was somebody from like Longhorn or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, private money lender. And then we just had to pay the
holding fees.
Yes, the holding fees, right? So one of the mistakes that I actually made on my end was over analyzing the deal, but I would say that it was not a mistake because it saved us. So I am telling my buyer that, hey, this probably gonna take maybe about 50 grand to repair. And they came in and they were like, hey, it's actually gonna take us like 30, 35.
Nice.
So I'm accounting for like bedrooms being 10,000 a piece.
Yeah.
She was like, no, that's no. So one of the mistakes that I would say is like just even on the wholesale side is overanalyzing the deal, but then you lose money as well.
Right, because your assignment could have been more.
Exactly. So when it comes down to being at this property and watching the general contractor or the subs, would you say that like you let this general contractor do their job and you never show up? Or how many times are you typically showing up to a project?
I will show up, okay, thinking of the old me. And now I kind of have a team, but the old me, if I'm just one shop person doing everything, I'm showing up to that property at least 3 or 4 times a week. 3 to 4 times. Because I am the boss. And if I let up, you think, oh, it's all cool. We can all let up. Personnel is the hardest part in everything that we do when it's business. So I am on there. I'll show up random times. I'll show up really early. I'll show up really late. I'll show up in the middle of the day because you never know when I'm going to show up. So everybody should be working there constant. Exactly. I also have a camera that I set up so that I know who is showing up when you're showing up. Because I may text you and say, hey, are you there today? Can you send me a picture? It takes you 30 minutes to send me because you're not there. Why? Because I already saw on the camera that you weren't there, but you told me you were. Yeah. So that's building that level of trust too with a contractor. Because if they start lying to you about something small, they're going to be lying about what they did behind those walls and you didn't see.
True. So would you say that's probably one of the reasons, like I see these videos that are like contractors videoing houses that just got built and they start like recording all the mistakes that were made. Would you say that's probably other than the experience, of course?
It does happen because, I mean, think about it. I mean, my mantra is all contractors suck because their mindset is not the same as yours. So you're the boss. You know how much money you've invested. You know how much money you're trying to make. Their mindset is, I just need to get paid on Friday.
Exactly. That makes sense.
So what's the fastest thing I can do to be done so I can get paid on Friday?
When it comes to timelines, right? How do you set expectation when it comes to timelines and things that need to be done on time, right? Yeah. So, obviously it's going to take more time to do a full rehab and major, type of repairs as a cosmetic repair. Right. So how do you determine, like, with the experience that you have and you're looking at this, how do you determine, all right, this is how long a full cosmetic update would take versus a full gut or something like that? How do you typically determine like the timelines and stuff like that?
So we move incredibly fast. We do something called, I know there's like this term house hacking, but we do contractor hacking. Okay. So that means I'm going to have 10 different contractors in that house working the same thing at the same time. So what does that mean mentally for us? Most flips that are a full rehab gut, like you're doing plumbing, electrical, HVAC, you're doing all those, we can finish in 50 days because we do contractor hacking. So while we got a roofer upstairs, like doing the roof, we have somebody in the house doing framing. The same time we got somebody in framing, we got the plumbers doing the plumbing work. The same time we got the plumbing going on, we got them landscaping the backyard and we got them painting the exterior of the house. So I'm moving very, very fast. But everybody knows their role. Everybody knows how to work with each other because we worked with each other for so long. And we all know that the only person they answer to is me. So y'all not all in cahoots because at the end of the day, I pay everybody individually. So if you want to get paid, you need to move fast so that I can give you another job. And that's kind of the mantra that we use. So if it's like a small flip, like just cosmetics, we can be done in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredibly fast.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you say that you pay them individually, right? So if you have a general contractor is like, hey, give me the money and I'll pay them, Do you do that, or are you like, what does that look like when they're getting paid?
Yeah, so if it's a general contractor, you would pay the general contractor and the general contractor pays everybody else.
Okay.
I've gotten burnt a couple times with
I
that
was gonna ask you
because
that.
the general contractor will take your money and unfortunately they won't pay the subs, and then the subs are looking at you when you show up, hey, I'm like, no, I already gave my money to your you need to contact the general contractor.
Yeah.
So what I have done now is I essentially have become the general contractor and I pay my subs directly. I'm the one that's talking to them. We're all figuring out the game plan. And now that I've been doing that for a while, I've now hired a project manager. Well, now she's loyal to me.
Really?
And we're using all my same subs. So they're trying to get used to her being the go-to person.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
keep coming to
everybody,
you.
they keep coming to me. But
Yeah.
we're learning to transition where Deba's not solely involved with all the day-to-day. But I like it this way. And again, I'm a little bit of a control freak. If you're gonna be a successful flipper, there's a level of control you just gotta have that you can never let the ball drop and say, okay, I'm just gonna let them figure it out. No, not on my watch.
When you, I know you talk about having a team and then you have somebody that you're trying to get them the answer to, they keep coming to you.
Yeah.
I love the concept of building a team and because we can't do everything ourselves.
We can't.
Right? And we will be going
I'm not
crazy.
that great at everything.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you say, this person, they're buying this property, they got this GC, they're setting these expectations, they're making sure everything is like going good. What would you think that the first hire essentially needs to be when it comes to building a team?
I would have a virtual assistant. That would be my first hire. And they would help me in the back end books, paperwork. They would help me be the person that turns on the electricity when I buy the house. They would be the one talking to the title company to make sure we got all the paperwork. Because I think that's the easiest segue into you releasing the power. Because it's all about you.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to release the power to let someone else get in there and start helping you? And with the virtual assistant, it's a lower overhead. You're not having to pay for a space here. You pay them $5, $7 an hour. They do all the things. They kind of work as robots, so it makes it even easier. So you're not going to hear people say, my child is sick, my dog is sick. They just work. They just do that. That would be the first hire.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they will help with those things. That's awesome. So having that, and then what would you say is next?
The next hire would be someone to help you make more money.
Okay.
So the person that's going to help you make more money, they need to find deals. So
Gotcha.
your next person needs to be who is helping me find more deals, because if they can help you find deals, now you can literally be selective on what you buy. Because let's say they find a deal where you're like, oh, I really don't buy in that area, wholesale it. Now they just made you some money by them being part of your funnel and being part of your staff.
Let me ask you this. This just came to my brain. Would you say that maybe hiring another virtual assistant to go talk to wholesalers all day and have them send you deals and have them add your email to their list and follow up with them maybe on a weekly basis, like, hey, do you have anything? Would you say that that's even a smart thing to do?
That, like, you're taking all of my little secrets. Like, I don't share all of my secrets. That is what I do.
Okay.
Seriously, I have a virtual assistant. Their job is to literally scour MLS, scour social media, find me some people that are pushing out deals.
Absolutely.
And I just need you to act like you're me, because everybody's like, oh, I talked to Deba. Yeah, Deba got like 10 people talking like
exactly.
Deba. But it all works because then they feel like, okay, I'm getting Deba deals. And the more deals, because at the end of the day, we're running a business. It's a money game, and it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
So if I know for myself on my team, if I can put out 50 offers a week, I probably have a probability of getting like one of those.
Okay.
So then you just double, triple those numbers.
Exactly.
And then you just keep pushing it because the numbers will come. Now, one thing I will say about business that I've had to learn the hard way is when one wins, we all win. So set up your pay schedule where if one person does something fabulous that gets us to where we're trying to be, everybody wins. So that means everybody makes some type of cut on it, because that's going to keep your culture together and it's going to keep everybody working cohesively together.
Yeah. How do you build your culture? What does that look like? And like, what are some things that you would say like motivates this person to want to come? Because at this point, this person is in the mindset of, all right, I have, 2 VAs and they're doing this and this, right? okay, when it comes to culture, how do I keep them wanting to work for me? Because we know, like, having a job is competitive, right? There, you know, other people are constantly marketing. You have other people that it looks way cooler to work for, but it's really not.
It's really not.
And it's like, how do you build a culture where it's like so infectious, to where they're like, man, I love it here. What are some of the things that you would say that you do to make it that way?
I will put out this disclaimer. I am not the best at this. But I do strive to be better. And I will say one of my biggest headaches of being a business owner is personnel. Like, I'll be like, golly, can I just find somebody that can just do what I need them to do? Because I'm very transactional, naturally. I'm just very like, hey, you did it, you didn't do it, let's move on. But I've had to take a step back and say, okay, in order for me to keep and retain really good people, Deba has to take a step back and say, okay, what are you doing this weekend? Like, what's going on in your world? So building a better relationship with people where you really do care, because I really do care. I just, my brain be in 10,000 places. So I have to take that, I have to turn my brain off and see the person. But I will be honest, the biggest thing, I need you to be spiritually aligned with me. If you don't know God, I don't want to fool with you because you don't have no fear of God. And if you don't have a fear of God, when there's a way that you can make some money and I don't know about it, you're going to do that because you don't really have anything anchoring your spirit. And I can't be the one anchoring your spirit because I'm going to pay you. Because eventually you're going to get tired of the money I'm making. It's never going to be enough. So I really need you to be spiritually anchored with something. Like, do you have to know Jesus and God? No. But you got to be anchored in something. I would love for you to, because when I talk about God fluently in my business and on our team meetings, you don't feel like uncomfortable, right? So I would say we do this every team meeting or every weekly team meeting on Friday. I go around and say, okay, what are you doing this weekend? Because I do want to know what's going on with your kids' life, what's going on with your world outside of real estate. And I feel like they also see me as a human too, because I talk about what I have going on as well. And that always seems to help. The other thing we do, and again, because I was in education, we do professional development once a month. And we have a vision, we have values, we have core values that we are anchored in what we do and how we show up for our clients. So what I do is just pull one of those core values and I just make it bigger. And we talk about what does that look like every day? Are we showing up to our clients? And you know what I love about that more than anything? The stuff that, I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss or not, but the stuff that I'll be like, why did you do that? When I'm dealing with my staff, they bring it up in the professional development. And I don't have to say, you did that wrong. They say, you know what, the other day, I probably didn't talk to the client correctly. I probably should have went back and apologized. You know what, I'm gonna call them right now and apologize. Or, hey, I dropped the ball on something. I know you asked me to get it done and have this timeline and I didn't do it, but it populates and it just bubbles up in the professional development. And the professional development, we don't talk nothing about real estate. It is more about, are we becoming the leaders that we want people to be connected with? And if we're not, let's talk about it.
That's good. That's so good that you say that, because like, when in a world full of like people who want to be the best, right? Nobody really talks more about like who you have to become in the process. Those things, the core values, what do you stand for? What are your morals? What are your standards? Like, and like that, hey, if I messed up on something, I'm gonna give them a call. I'm gonna do that. And I've done that a lot in my businesses. It's a certain, what do you call that? It's a certain level of conviction that you get when you know that you're supposed to be doing it at this level. And you know, we're humans, we make mistakes. So like, but we going back and fixing it and actually following up on that is the most important part. I think that's really good.
And I hold myself to accountability. Like there's moments that I will say when we're in professional development, like, yeah, guys, I've been so busy doing this, I literally dropped the ball. So I take full ownership on that. And I think that level of humility, when they see the owner do that, they're like, oh, okay, she's not perfect either. And she's okay saying she's not perfect. Which creates the environment where they don't feel like they're on defense mode all the time and feel like, oh, somebody's out to get me. No, hey, we dropped the ball. We need to do better.
Just know that they're like open to like making those mistakes as well. And they're
Yes.
like, and I'm like, okay, great. Like she holds herself at this level, and it's like, okay, cool. Like I
Yeah.
have that space, because everybody, when you're out on a team, you know, it can get tricky.
Man.
Like a lot of people are just like so in this shell. You like, you want them to
Yes.
open up, but that's one of the things
Yeah.
that you can do. So that's good. Okay. So on this level of doing deals, developing, fixing and flipping, all of this, what would you say if somebody wants to do this at scale, right?
Yeah.
They secure a partner for financials and all of this good stuff. What would you say is a number that they will want to keep in their bank account at all times when it comes down to like pushing, you know, deals and making offers and all of this good stuff, and knowing the contracting world?
Yeah. I mean, if you do it right, I don't know if this is right or not, because I'm gonna really just blow people's mind. In my account that I use for real estate investing, flipping, I may have less than 50,000 in there
Yeah.
because I utilize line of credit.
Okay.
A lot. Line of credit is what I use to pay my contractors.
Yeah.
So that way, if I see a deal I need to go buy, I have my liquidity to buy it.
Exactly.
I'm using private money, or I'm using a hard money lender that I'm not bringing a lot of money to the table. The last two houses that I bought, one in McKinney, one in Irving, I think I brought less than 20,000 together. So I don't need a lot of liquidity. I just need to make sure I buy the right deals.
Yeah.
So you don't need a whole lot of money. You just got to really know how to get the money that you're going to use to just keep circulating.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, great. And within this is one of the last things I want to cover. When we talk about like finances and being responsible with money, right? How would you suggest that somebody splits, like, let's say they just made $50,000, right?
Yeah.
What would you say is like a structured way to structure their money so they can make sure that they're, you know, taking care of themselves, their next flip, et cetera, et cetera? Like, I hear a lot of people are like, oh, well, just make the money, which is great.
It's great.
But like, you got Uncle Sam over here.
Yeah.
We got, you know, employees. We got this. So what would you say is a structure that somebody could essentially follow to make sure that they are financially responsible?
Right. I feel like we live in a day and age that everybody wants to post on social media about buying all the things, right? But most of the people that are wealthy, they don't buy anything.
Yeah.
I was once that person that I was a principal and all I wanted to do is go buy a Louis Vuitton purse.
Yeah.
My checks were like $4,000 a month, and I would spend more than half of it to go buy a Louis Vuitton purse just to sit it on my desk so people could see, oh, she's rich.
Yeah.
But when you become wealthy, you don't want nobody to know you're wealthy.
Exactly.
You don't want anyone to know you're wealthy, because now you're like, I don't want them coming after me and my assets. So you don't buy a lot of the expensive stuff. You probably don't care what you drive. You probably park so far in the back that you don't want nobody to see what you pull up in.
Exactly.
So I would say financially responsible would be do an expense report, expense everything. Literally expense everything to show you really don't make no money.
Okay.
Expense everything. The second thing I would do, let's say I get 50,000, 40% of that money, I'm going to put it back into marketing so I can get more deals, because that's where my money keeps flowing, because I got to create consistency.
Exactly.
Because I mean, we're flipping. That doesn't mean the next house going hit either.
Yeah.
So I got to continue to push consistency. Then the next thing I would do, out of there, I would spend my 40% there, maybe 10%, I would go splurge on me. Hey, whatever I really wanted to go do, just go do it. If it's a trip, whatever. Then the rest, I'm literally going to save maybe 30% of the rest. And then the rest, I'm literally going to just hold it for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And just be like, okay, whatever I need to do, my living expenses, whatever, that's what I'm going to spend the money on.
That's good. If somebody were to get into real estate and they make the decision to do so, what is some advice, just personal advice, that you can give to this person who sees this video and they're like, man, like, all right, I'm in, I'm taking the step.
Yeah.
What is some advice that you would give this person so they can be better and be open to growing as well?
Yeah. I would say, this sounds real cliche, I would put my head down and I would focus on grinding. I wouldn't worry about what's happening to the right, the left. I wouldn't tell anybody what I was doing. I would just say, if this is what God has for me, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to go get the knowledge. I'm going to get a mentor. And I am not going to let up until I have reached where I'm trying to go.
Yep.
So let's say you come and you're like, I want to get 10 deals or I want to buy 10 rental properties. Then I would say you need to get as much knowledge as possible, read books, go to podcasts, get you a mentor, do all these things where now your entire world is real estate to the point you have literally submerged your entire life that now all you see, eat, smell, drink is real estate. And then once you've done that, you're already on the right journey to go become become that person. You go buy those property because when you're spending that time investing in yourself, those properties are going to populate. And then it's ironic, I guess not ironic, but it's just the nature of being human. Whatever you submerge yourself in, whatever you like, put my head down, I'm going to focus. It all comes back up. You're going to find someone that has the deals. You're going to find a contractor. All those things will just start coming to you because you created the environment for you to receive it.
That makes sense. That's so good. I appreciate that for sure. Because I'm just taking so many notes here and I'm like, this is crazy. All right, last thing. What would you say, how important is it to stay spiritually grounded?
Oh my goodness.
Keeping God first in everything. What are some practices that like you would say, how do you, like everybody says keep God first.
Yeah.
How? What are some practices that you would say on how you can keep God first in everything?
Yeah. I used to think I could just go to church on Sunday and that'd be enough.
Yeah.
But when you're in this entrepreneurial world and you get stuff thrown at you all the time, I need God Monday through Friday. I need God more on Monday through Friday than I need on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because Sunday ain't nobody calling me. I'm just by myself. So as soon as I wake up, before I turn on my computer, before I do anything, I am journaling and I'm reading my Bible. Because I'm like, I need the covering and I need God to close doors that were never supposed to be for me to walk through. I need him to keep things away from me that I'm like, oh, that's shiny. Let me go. I need God to really be submerged in every aspect of my life, not just on Sunday, not just when I'm tithing. I be like, I need God every aspect of it. So that would be my first thing. Like, start your day with gratitude. Start your day with giving God the first, because you're most awake and most ready when you're in the first of the morning, your first 30 minutes. And then the rest will just kind of flow. But I pray a lot. I listen to gospel music. I listen to gospel rap because I do like a nice beat.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear all that extra noise because what you listen to, what you're around, it will manifest in your life. So I am very positive. Even if something goes wrong, I'm like, okay, let's gotta find a way. What did I learn from this situation? Let's move on.
Yeah. And then being solution oriented, right?
Yeah.
The last part I just heard you say was just about like not getting upset or blowing up when something happens. Because one of the things that I've learned is that when you're doing something worthwhile, just like Adam and Eve, we had basically, Adam right here, Eve right here, and God gave the specific instruction to not do this. And then the serpent comes along, right? When this serpent comes along, right, what would you say that you can do? Because in serpent meaning, trouble in life, life starts happening, things starts going wrong, things like that. How can you have that outlook of like, man, I'm not gonna blow up. I'm gonna be solution oriented. I'm not like, how would you do that?
You know what? Because you read the Bible. Because I read the Bible, I feel like I am in a true covenant with God, right? And because I know whose I am or who I belong to, it's easy for me to go through something and be like, oh, okay, God went through this. God went through the same situation. They betrayed him. They lied on him. They stoned him. So why shouldn't I go through some of this stuff? Like, and then I just have to mentally prepare myself for what it is. Cause it's like, it's easy for me to just say this, but I still have to mentally say, okay, I'm going through this, but God sent me anyway. So if he sent me, then he's going to cover me. So he's already given me the provision. I just have to have the faith to walk through it and be like, okay, God, you sent me. I didn't want to do this because I told you I wasn't ready to do this. You told me I wasn't prepared, but you sent me to do it. So I'm going to trust you to see me through it. And we just go through it. And I think the biggest thing is don't just read the Bible. You really got to know the word. Like have enough word. You don't have to know all scriptures, but have enough that you're like, oh, I've seen this before. I know this word. I know this power. I can say this. I know I'm the head and not the tail. I know that he has went before me. I know that Hannah went through what she went through in the Bible, not being barren, and she was married to somebody else. And the person that Hannah was married to had 2 wives. One wife was able to have tons of kids. Hannah wasn't able to have any kids. So that wife, I don't remember her name, she continued to ridicule Hannah and say, you're not good enough because you don't have any kids. Hannah was hurt by that. And she was just like, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, I can't. But eventually God blessed her with Samuel. Samuel was a prophet. He was a judge. And if there was no Samuel, there would be no David that he would never anoint. So if there was no David, then there wouldn't be any Solomon. It's like you got to know so much of the word that when things come against you, you speak life into it. And you don't just let it just come and fall and be like, oh, I guess I have to deal with this. And I guess this is who I am. And they said I was negative, or they said all these things about me. I guess it's true. No, you rebuke that and say, that's not what God called me to be. That's not who I'm with. And limit your access to people. Like cut that stuff at the knees. Like I didn't used to do that, but now I'm like, I know who I am. I've turned into a different person. Like I know I'm a real boss. And you shouldn't even be in the likelihood of me. I'm okay with that.
That makes sense. So just really just, and you know this based on people that you interact with and stuff like that, because there was one thing that I thought about. I'm like, man, you have your day ones, you have your day twos, and your day threes. Your day ones are people that, like, from back in the day, you can only talk about the past with. There's nothing new you can talk about, right? You got your day twos where you're on the same level as this person, you're growing together, you're teaching each other stuff, and then you got your day threes who are like mentors that you pay for if you want to go to the next level. And when we talk about day ones, day twos, day threes, it's important to stay in that day 2, day 3 instead of day 1.
Because the day one's going to hold you back.
Exactly.
Because they remember who you used to be. And when now you're trying to level up, they're going to be like, well, what about you used to do this? Or you used to do that. And I'll be honest, I don't really have a bunch of day ones. Because where I started being literally a Pell Grant recipient in a college, mom and dad on food stamps, and then becoming a principal and realizing like, this ain't what I want to do with my life, having to let go of those peoples and let go of that mindset, and then going into real estate. And then you're like, oh, I'm a top producing realtor. That's great. Oh, now I'm also going to flip houses. Now I'm going to build a house. And now I'm going to move into a custom house that I just built. Like, there is not a lot of people that can say, okay, I'm okay still going around with her because she continues to elevate. And what I realized about myself is that I was always ambitious. I wasn't around the right environment.
Absolutely.
And now that I know the environment that I need to be in, I will cut it at the knees immediately and be like, that's not where I need to be.
Exactly. So Principal leaving the podcast, y'all, knows who you are and watch your circle. Your circle is everything. Everything. Well, I appreciate you for coming on the pod here. I'm sure you're going to be back for sure. All right, y'all. If you love this video, which I'm sure you did, like, comment, subscribe. And then also we're going to include how you can get into contact with Deba as well, just in case you want to learn fixing and flipping, developing, anything like that. And we'll get you in the room. All right. See y'all on the next pod. Let's go.